So this is like take 3 of this video. So I actually did this, I did this ages ago, this bit ages ago, and then I had a problem with the snare drum which I had to then replace, and that took a couple of months because the part needed to be ordered. And then I did this again. I think I did this like the last week of 2020, and I spent about 15 minutes staring at the camera, talking away, and then I realised that the microphone was off, and I'd been talking for no reason at all, really. But this is my Zelkova, the 14x6.5 kind, and I'll do a bit of close-up because I don't want to wave it around. But I first tried one of these about 10 years ago. In fact, I actually tried 2 of them about 10 years ago. I got given 2 of these to review. Yeah, well, it was about 10 years ago. And I also got a Canopus kit. And I haven't got a clue what the kit was, but there's a photo of it. There's a photo of me playing it, actually, at the gig that I used it. And it's one of those occasions where it was a little bit momentous, not for any other reason than I can remember exactly where the venue was. And it was in a place called Richmond, which is in southwest London. And apparently a fella who you've probably heard of called Pete Townsend lived over the road in a very big house with a very nice view. But I did that gig with that kit and the 2 snare drums. I had a 14.5.5 and a 14.6.5 Zelkova, well, both Zelkovas, and I remember doing that gig and enjoying those 2 snare drums immensely. And I kind of vowed there and then, or rather a little bit later on, to unfortunately give them both back because the whole lot came from a backline company called John Henry's in London. That one day I would own a Zelkova, and it took me, it took me nearly 10 years. I got this drum actually in I think it was February or March. That would have been February 2020, just before the world all went to pot. And I saw it actually on eBay, and the little thumbnail of it was actually more of the badge, or maybe sort of maybe sort of that panel of the badge with the badge in it, and I saw it and instantly recognised it, and then I got all excited because I'm quite sad like that, and the very nice man wanted. We had it up as a buy it now for £800. I went running upstairs to get my my credit card, because I was sitting there. I've said this before, I was sitting there. I'm trying not to now, but I used to basically sit and read, look at eBay like it was a book, and I remember it was a Sunday night, and me and my wife were sitting there doing our best to ignore each other like we normally do, and thankfully the baby, that was when my daughter actually slept, but I saw it on eBay. I got all excited. I run upstairs and got the credit card and paid for it. And the glaringly obvious thing, which I didn't realise till after I'd paid for it, was the listing didn't say whether it was a 5.5 or a 6.5. In fact, it didn't even say it was a 14, but I kind of guessed it was a 14. But I thought, it kind of looks like it's a 6.5. If it is actually a 5.5, and sometimes you can't always tell, but I thought maybe if it's a 5.5, I don't care because it's still a Zelkova and I've still got one, and I can't wait. And thankfully it turned up and it was a 14.6.5, so I was a little bit extra happy. This is something that I wanted for a long time, and I'm sure if I go back over the sort of couple of videos I've done over the last few years where I've talked about specific drums that I always kind of wanted, this will have been on that list. And if it wasn't on the list, like I said, then obviously I was a complete arse because it is a drum that I always wanted. But the Zelkova is if you're not familiar with the Zelkova, and I know a few of you will be, but the Zelkova is a little different to most drums in that it is a true solid shell. and unlike sort of Craviotto and like Noble and Cooley and all the other guys that actually do what we call solid shells, they are technically really more one ply. Obviously it is one piece, it's one board of wood that is steam bent into a circle, and or a cylinder really, and that is how you form the shell. With the Zelkova, what they do is they actually take a tree stump and they bore it out. So basically this is literally one solid piece of wood that has been bored out by Canopus, or Canopus, however you pronounce it. And there's not too many companies that do that. I know obviously they do, and they've been doing this drum for a long time. There is at least another one smaller company. I can't remember the name of them, but I know there is another company, at least one other company that does this as well. But I think Canopus is probably the most famous. In fact, I would argue this is actually Canopus's most famous snare drum, or most famous drum even. They've been doing the Zelkova for a long time, and you know, I'll put up on the screen how many different versions there are in terms of sizes and things. I know you can get 14, 5.5, 6.5, and an 8. I can't remember if they do it to 13 as well, but I don't think I've ever seen a 15 listed. But you know, it's just one of those drums. It's for me, this is one of the all-time classic snare drums because of the way that it's made, and you know what? I mean, I've been jarring on this in here for the last sort of week or so, and in fact, funny enough, when I had it before, when I tried to do this, and it kind of broke. Actually, it was the butt plate that broke. Funny enough, it was that bit there, kind of one of the screws threaded, or actually it was the receiver threaded. So I couldn't do it up. I think I changed the wires. That was it, and then basically the screw wouldn't go back into the receiver. So I had to wait a couple of months, and then, well, with one thing and another, it got sidetracked and forgotten about, but we're here now, and that's good. But so I tried to do this video probably easily 6 months ago. In fact, no, it'd be longer than 6 months ago, and I think at the time, I don't know what it was. For whatever reason, the drum for me just hadn't hit its stride. Now, I'll say this now, and I'll apologise now. I've literally just done the one tensioning. I get very funny sometimes when I've got a drum exactly where I want it to be. I don't want to mess with it. My Anton Fig was the same actually, which is probably, I think, is the reason why it's still got the original batter head on it 18 years down the line. It's just because I'm basically just too scared to touch it. And I've got this drum exactly where I want it to be. I am too scared to touch it and mess with it now that it sounds fantastic to my ears, anyway, hopefully to you guys too. But if you do want to see, Drum Centre of Portsmouth did at least one video on the Zelkova, and I think they did it with, a couple of different versions actually, and different tensionings as well. So apologies in advance, but hey, I'm not screwing with this because I'm just too worried that I'm going to mess it up and never going to be able to get it back. And even if I sat down and marked all the tensionings out with the tension watch and stuff, I still don't want to basically stuff it up. So the drum itself, right, as I said, this is very literally one piece of wood. So that's the main thing. It is a slightly undersized shell. You've got the 8 Canopus single nodal lugs there, obviously, 8 per side. You've got the die-cast hoops, which I'd love to hear this with like maybe wood hoops or triple flanged. That might be really ringy. I mean, this is a ringy drum anyway, or certainly it's set up to be a very ringy drum right now. You got the nice solid butt plate, even if it does, thread once in a while. You got the single Single air hole there. Now the thing that I absolutely don't like about Canopus drums or snare drums is the strainer. These snare drums in the UK are £1,700–1,800 to buy brand new. Now, as I said, I didn't pay that, but the thing is I absolutely hate this strainer. It works. You know, you've got on and you've got off, and that's fine. It works. You can tension the wires how you want them. That's fine. That works too. But this looks like basically a $20 or £20 snare mechanism. And for me personally, if I'm paying that much money for a brand new snare drum, I want something on it that looks decent and does a little bit more than on and off. That is my one criticism of, you know, I've played a couple of Canopus drums. I did another one a little while ago on here, and I absolutely loved that drum too. That was a limited edition, and that was a fantastic drum. And if I'd had the facility to buy that other snare drum, I absolutely would have done, because it was wonderful. But the thing is this just looks horrible. I'm sorry, Canopus, if you see this, I really am sorry. I love your drum, I really, really do. As I said, I lusted after one of these things for nearly a decade. But this is just horrible. It just looks so out of place on something that is otherwise a magnificent piece of wood. But that's rant over. So the edges, snare bed is sort of there to there, so you've got plenty of room to accommodate 42s. These are, let me think, these are 24s, I think, or maybe 26 actually. They're 26. And these are actually the Vic Firth wires, which Canopus made for Vic Firth, and they work wonderfully. They're wonderful wires. Canopus makes some of the best wires in the business. But anyway, as I said, plenty of room to accommodate 42s. You've got a nice sharp edge there. Now the thing about the Zelkova, which I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. If you look at the outside of the shell, it's actually very slightly concave. Sits like that. Very slightly, but it is there. So if you have a look at that now, hopefully you'll be able to see it. Now, the other thing about this piece of wood is that it's this. You know what? Obviously, because this is bored out of a tree stump, everyone's going to be slightly different. And I mean, but the thing you do notice if you look at enough of these things, and I have spent a little bit of time looking at the Zelkova shells, this sort of featuring of the wood is quite common. So it's obviously just a you know what it's just part of the actual the wood itself, but it's just wonderful. You've got this lovely thick grain, and that's also sort of continued on the inside as well. I mean, the whole thing together is really something special, and I think, you know what, I mean, it's no surprise that the Zelkova is, I think, first of all, A, so enduring, and B, costs as much as it does, because obviously it's going to be very labour intensive. I mean, I'm not a drum builder, I'm not a woodworker, but it's got to be one of the most, if not the most labour-intensive shell to create. It has to be, just by virtue of what you've got to do to get to that point. But anyway, last thing, I forgot, heads. Now, I've got an Evans UV1 on the top, and I have a 300 snare side on the bottom. I've said before in a specific video, actually if you haven't seen that one, I've given a list of a couple of my favourite snare drum heads. The UV1 just seems to work really well as a snare drum head, for me anyway. I mean, you can hear that, hopefully just by picking it up off that mic. The lovely soft decay, and that's obviously just with my fingers. Lovely soft decay that this drum has. Oh yeah, sorry, actually there is another little thing. So, and again, as I said, I'll do a close-up of these. This is something that I think Canopus does as routine. Now, I'm not really into sort of leathery stuff. The lovely leather washers that they have underneath all of the between the top of the tension rod and the hoop. Nice touch, and obviously sonically it must do, or at least physically it must do something, otherwise they wouldn't do it. So as I said, these drums are really quite expensive, and even second hand they hold a reasonable amount of value. This was the cheapest one I've ever seen. The last Zelkova I saw second hand in the UK was £1,000, which for a second hand drum is not bad going, I think. So these drums do hold a value. Like I said before, it's not really too much of a surprise that they do cost as much as they do. They're very labour intensive, but they have actually also done special sort of editions of this, where they've sort of highlighted some of the grain. They've also done at least one in a different colour, and amazingly they did a whole kit of this a few years ago, and I think that was $30,000 actually, which is not bad going by anyone's standards, I don't think. That's a decent sized car, isn't it? But you can have a decent sized family saloon car, or this lovely, fairly unique drum kit. Yeah, I don't know which one I'd choose actually if I had the cash. That'd be a tough one, wouldn't it? But again, fantastic looking kit. I'm never probably even going to see one in person, let alone actually play it. But I bet that sounds absolutely phenomenal as well. It feels really great to play, which is something that I do genuinely look for in a snare drum. And certainly at this point in time, if I'm looking to buy a snare drum, it's gotta have some sort of vibe to it, and this definitely has a vibe to it. So if you get a chance, maybe if I remember, I'll put a link to the Drum Centre at Portsmouth's video for this, and you can check out what different sizes and tensionings and stuff. So I may down the line, I may relent slightly, and I may decide to do a variation on different levels of tuning. But I think the thing is at the moment, as I said, I'm a little bit too paranoid to mess with it. Now I finally got it where I want it to be. This sounds so much better right now than it did when I got it. And I've not really done anything to it either, but something happened between sort of now and about 6, 7, 8 months ago, or at least when I put the new butt plate on it. Anyway, something happened and it started to sound really good again. So hopefully you'll like it too. This is what it looks like, this is what it sounds like. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time.